I am the mother of four, two sunshines, ages 17 and 12, an angel baby who would be turning 8 in August, and a beautiful rainbow who is 3. On August 26, 2010, with 5 little words, "I'm sorry there's no heartbeat," my entire world collapsed. My daughter, Anaya Marie, was stillborn on August 27th at 2:33 a.m. She was perfect in every way but one. She looked like she was simply asleep, so I found myself shaking her with hopes that they had made a mistake. Sadly, no mistake had been made, and I found myself leaving the hospital 2 days later with a memory box and several prescriptions, one antidepressant, one for anxiety, and one for sleep, the tools to end my own life if I chose. I was diagnosed with major depression when I was 9. My normal response to blue spells was to spend days in my bed in total darkness until I was somehow able to recover. In the months leading up to my daughter's stillbirth, I found myself reaching out to labor and delivery because I knew something was wrong. They accredited my paranoia to my depressive disorder and the problems I was having with my then husband, so I was hospitalized for what was assumed to be depression. I was in no way equipped for my daughter's death. I had to plan a funeral, back to school shopping for my older two, attempt to repair the rift in my relationship with my husband, deal with work, who had the opinion, since there was no baby, there should be no maternity leave. My milk came in, my body was betraying me. I couldn't sleep, and as a result, my mind began to betray me. My oldest daughter was ill, so bed was not an option. I began to use the prescriptions to escape. It was a conversation that I had with my grandmother that hurt me most when she said, "This is not how we act when these things happen. When I lost my son, I just moved on." This was the first week. The memorial service was a blur. I was angry with my husband for not being present when our daughter was born and for only arriving the morning of the memorial service. At the time, I needed him, and he wasn't there. He told me that I needed to move on, and only then could we be together. He left the day after our daughter's service and never returned. That was the second week. In the first month, I realized that I was able to hide my growing addiction quite well. I woke up to get my children ready for school and return home to take a sleeping pill to escape the day. I would wake up in time to meet my children at the bus stop. I would pop a sleeping pill once homework was done, which would kick in just after the children were put to bed. My adult family and friends thought that since I was spending a lot of time in the bed, that I was simply experiencing one of my episodes. In the second month, I felt completely alone. While I found an online support group and had made other friends who had lost their babies to stillbirth, I needed more of a physical connection. On one occasion, I reached out to my husband for support. He told me that he still needed his space and hung up on me. I called him back, but he didn't answer. I felt so lost that I needed to feel something than my own grief, despair, and worry. So I cut my wrists, and seeing my own blood woke me up. I wondered if I died, what would happen to my children? So I immediately called my psychiatrist, who told me that she would meet me at the ER. Upon arriving at the ER, my psychiatrist helped me register, and we were immediately taken back to an examination room. We talked while we waited for me to be seen by a doctor, and she gave me an appointment for later that week because she didn't think I was in danger of harming myself or anyone else, for that matter. I was stitched up, sent home, and made things seem normal for my children, who would be coming home from school. Month 3 brought support groups, and I learned how lucky I was to have pictures and memories of a full pregnancy. I was so lucky. Milestones that would never be reached, memories that had yet to be made. Lucky? Me? Month 6 came in, and I returned to work. I was greeted by people who didn't know that my daughter had died. They asked to see pictures, so I eventually began showing them her picture. and became bold enough to leave a picture of her on my desk with the photos of my living children. My supervisor didn't think it was healthy for me to have a photo of my miscarried baby on my desk and politely asked me to remove it. But it was healthy for them to continue to put wrapped presents beneath my desk over the course of my maternity leave, so I could return to figure out once again what to do with baby items for a baby who lived on my piano. It took me 3 days and my son growing ill for me to walk out, only grabbing my purse and the photos on my desk, never to look back. Can you believe that I was the office manager for a college counseling office? A week later, my oldest daughter, then 5, and I were crossing the street when we were hit by a van. I took the majority of the force from the hit, and my daughter was knocked to the ground by the force. This added physical therapy and pain management to the anxiety, antidepressants, and sleeping pills. August 27th, 2011 brought things full circle. It had been a year since the stillbirth of my third born. It was also my 38th birthday, and a date that has grown to be known as my rebirth. Like most other days, I did not want to get out of bed. I woke up late that Saturday afternoon to hear my son and daughter running up the stairs giggling. My 11-year-old son told my 6-year-old daughter to be quiet because he wanted to surprise me. I composed myself and tried to look somewhat normal. All the while I was praying that the old normal would return and a semblance of normalcy would appear. They burst into the room, singing the happy birthday song. I faked a smile, and my son's smile left. Each child carried a cupcake, my son telling me to make a wish, my daughter asking if she could make Anaya's wish since she wasn't there to do it herself. Then I cried, my first cry of release. After that day, I never used any of those medications again. Hello, my name is Nneka Hall. I was diagnosed with major depression when I was 9. I've suffered many blue periods over the years. Marriage gave me anxiety. The birth of my second child introduced postpartum depression. The birth of my third child gave me PTSD. I experienced a rebirth on my 38th birthday, which was my angel baby's first angelversary. My rebirth gave me purpose. I have a wonderfully supportive therapist. I cry, like I am now. I laugh, I scream, I sing, I think, but not too deeply. I remember, I love, I live. I am now a full-spectrum doula who guides families through the loss of a child from conception through age 2. I'm not done yet. I do this by teaching families that it's okay to openly grieve, talk about, and include their deceased child or children in their everyday lives. This world is so much larger than the vessels our souls are housed in. Take a deep breath, exhale. There, you've experienced your first release. Don't stop there. Release a little at a time until you find that you are free. Thank you. Now I'm done.